From mid-century to contemporary, public to private, we're in search of the very best in art, homes, happenings, stores, restaurants, and people. Things that defy categories. The perpetual freshness and cool of modern never ceases to captivate us. Join us for another edition of Modern Dallas TV to discover what's going on and where in the modern world. Modern Dallas Real Estate this week is here with Ed Murchison with Virginia Cook Realtors. Ed, we're right in the middle of Henderson Avenue. This is an interesting corridor, part of the bigger Knox-Henderson district, and this area is evolving and changing.
It is, Jeff. This whole neighborhood, we were kind of talking a little bit before about the desire of so many buyers that are now moving into more urban locations like this one, wanting walkability. And when people make that request as a realtor, you back up and go, okay, there's about 1, 2, 3 that might fit that bill. Well, this is certainly one of them. You're right here in the heart of the Knox-Henderson location. You got shopping, dining, grocery stores, Sprouts, Trader Joe's, all right here within walking distance of your front door.
Normally we go lastly to the neighborhood, but it's interesting how significant this area has become.
Exactly.
But more importantly, this is an interesting house. Great design, great architect, great builder. Tell us a little bit about their process.
Yeah, the location is stellar, but so is the house. This particular home was a custom build, or is a custom build by the homeowner. They had originally built this house for themselves, and they poured a lot of love and attention and detail into it. The owner tells me he's taken over 3,000 photos of the construction process of this house. It was designed to utilize this wonderful backyard that's behind us here. If you're looking for a great home in a great location with a pool-sized backyard, which is hard to find, this is it. The yard actually is already pre-stubbed out for a pool, so all you gotta do is do your design and have it implemented.
And you could even do a studio back there.
Oh, absolutely, an Airbnb that studio all day long with this location.
Absolutely. Yes. So Ed, there's great features and benefits of this house. Give us an idea what people can expect.
Well, this particular home was designed by ParmaDesign architects. The spaces in the house were laid out to be very open and airy. You have these huge soaring ceilings with walls of glass. You're looking out at lots of greenery, trees. You even get bits and pieces of the skyline, and kind of enhances the whole neighborhood and urban location as well. Nice big open kitchen, a Wolf 6-burner range in here. You get some really nice details that were lavished on this particular house. Polished concrete floors here on the ground floor, and the upstairs you got wide plank white oak floors.
What's the house listed for?
This house is $895. You can see it on my website at midcenturymoderndallashomes.com.
And if you'd like to see all the modern listings in Dallas, visit our website at moderndallas.net. Ed, thanks so much.
Thank you, Jeff.
The Dallas Architecture Forum, celebrating 20 years of inspired design dialogue. Join us for outstanding lectures, panel discussions, symposia, and special events. You can get more information at dallasarchitectureforum.org. Hope to see you soon.
Modern Dallas Art this week is here at Talley Dunn Gallery, and we're here to see the works by Leonardo Drew+Rima Canaan, and I'm here with Talley Dunn. Talley, let's talk about Leonardo's work first. Obviously, these are significant pieces with great stories, and I'm sure a great story about him as well. Tell us a little bit about Leonardo and how these works evolve.
Sure. Well, Leonardo Drew lives and works in Brooklyn, New York. His studio is based there, and all of the works in this exhibition, they range from kind of medium-sized to really large and monumental. They were all created in his Brooklyn studio and specifically for this exhibition, and they were shipped here. They've never been seen before, so we're so excited to have him. Leonardo is originally grew up in Bridgeport, Connecticut, actually in public housing, and he grew up looking at a landscape of enormous landfills and enormous dumps. And that was his landscape, and really seeing those environments evolve and change, and also some of the beauty in them. And that's kind of his backstory. And then flashing forward, he's become an artist of international regard. He just had an installation at the De Young Museum in San Francisco, and he's just a phenomenal artist, and we're so honored to have him here in Dallas.
So obviously the background sets the stage for these pieces. This piece over here, now all of these are numbered pieces, they don't particularly have a name, but what is it about this piece? And I know there's all these different windows and even sort of a tree house.
Right.
What does it all mean?
Well, first of all, Leo does not title his work, he only numbers it. He really wants the viewer to have the opportunity to bring to the piece what they see, whether they see something representational or they just see forms and shapes and textures. In this piece, you have small vignettes of pieces in the past of sculpture, wall sculpture, that Leo has done over the years, many of them in museum collections, from the Phillips collection to the Metropolitan Museum of Art. He's in collections all over the country, but there are these wonderful vignettes of pieces from the past. And then there's just all of this debris, you know, all of these things coming out from the piece, from this wall sculpture. It's really quite grand and quite magnificent.
Last question, coloration. How is this all painted?
Right. While the pieces look like found objects, they're all created in the studio. So some people look at his black works and say, oh, they're burned or they're charred. They're not burned or charred, they're actually painted. And all of the pieces, they're not found elements, they're elements that he's created, that he's cut, carved, sculpted, and put into these great assemblage style wall sculptures.
Beautiful, absolutely
Thank you.
Beautiful. So Talley, moving on to Rima's work, which is called Rococo on the Edge.
Yes.
So different from Leonardo, but so engaging. What is her background, her story? And obviously these are specific.
Well, Rima's a world traveler. She grew up in Lebanon, or was born in Lebanon, grew up in Hamburg, Germany. Then she lived in the United States. She did her undergraduate work at Harvard and her graduate work at Yale and studied comparative literature. So that tells you a little bit about her work, that she is interested in a lot of different cultures and a lot of different ways of looking at things. These pieces all come from churches and buildings of the Rococo period in Germany. And she's focusing on these very odd elements in these very, very grand settings that don't quite seem right and that are a little bit off.
So off can be odd, different.
Yes.
What makes them different?
So what she was attracted to in these churches and settings and buildings is that you have this very grand architecture in the Rococo period of marble and gilding and all of these elements. But then there are these unusual, odd, off little figures and elements, and rather than them being marble, which you would expect in these really grand settings, they're actually made of stucco and plaster and materials that are not so grand. And then while they're in a very divine setting, being a church setting, there's something very kind of vulnerable and human about them in a really odd way. So they have these elements of belonging and not belonging in these settings, and being very, very intriguing work. So she really focused on these elements that do seem a little bit at odds in their setting, and they're photographs. So she photographed them, and they come on. They are really striking images and really beautiful images.
They are. This is at both shows. Spectacular.
Thank you.
How can people find you?
They can find us through our website, which is www.talleydunn.com, and we're open to the public Tuesday through Saturday.
And if you want to see all the art listings in Dallas, visit our website at moderndallas.net. Thanks, Talley.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Modern Dallas Sacred Spaces is a new segment for us on Modern Dallas TV. We're here at the Cathedral of Hope campus. Obviously, a big part of their campus is the Interfaith Peace Chapel. And we're here today with the Director of Television and Media, Jerry King. The interesting part of this journey coming out here is we saw one of the original concepts, which was on a napkin that was created by Philip Johnson. And to see what this is today, Jerry, give us an insight of what this is all about.
It really is. It did start with finally, it started with the drawing on the napkin. Philip Johnson did not want to design this project at first. In fact, he was on his deathbed until Mike Piazza, who was the senior pastor at the time, went and told him about this congregation and the purpose of building a structure for this congregation here in Dallas. And coming out of this, he got up, started working again, and literally did. He drew that image that you see on the napkin and then came on to design this beautiful structure that we're in now.
So obviously there's history.
Yes.
This didn't just show up, and then there's obviously the backstory of how this all evolved and got started. Tell us a little bit about the background and how Cathedral of Hope actually started.
This particular building was not built for the congregation. The congregation built this building for the community of Dallas. And it comes from its beginnings of itself. It started with a group of 12 people 45 years ago who were all told that they were not loved by God, that there was no God or a place for them at the table. And that group happened to have been lesbian and gay, and they decided not to take no for an answer. They built a congregation which is now about 4,500 that we have participating in worship every month here on site, as well as the thousands that we reach worldwide. But time and time again, that congregation was told they couldn't worship. You're not allowed to use our space. You can't be here. This congregation, from those beginnings and working through those no's, decided to build a place for people of no faith and all faith, that they could come and belong and worship in the manner that was right for them.
And then obviously through that process, the Cathedral of Hope was obviously had spent some time in the original building on the campus. When did this concept come and originate for the chapel?
The current building that the Cathedral of Hope worships in, right across the parking lot, they moved in Christmas Eve of 1992. And that particular building, as we had said, at that particular time, no architects would design a space. They tried to purchase old churches that had declined in attendance. One church said that they'd rather burn their building to the ground than to sell to this congregation. So they designed and built. It was just 5 years ago that we were able to put commercial air conditioning in the building, because at the time we couldn't even buy commercial products because it was a primarily lesbian and gay congregation. The church wanted to show the world and to other LGBT persons that there was room at the table for them at the family of God. And Mike Piazza, who was the senior pastor at the time, wanted to show an image and to look outwardly, not just look inwardly, but to look outwardly, and to lead by example by building this space for everyone else who may be told no to, so that we could say yes.
And that's really the basis of why the Interfaith Peace Chapel was built.
Correct.
And it is for anyone who wants to attend or participate or use the facility.
That is correct. And I can't tell you everything that's happened in this building, but I know that there have been 13 different Native American tribes that have worshiped in this space. We've had Muslim, Hindu, Buddhist. We had His Holiness Kamakuchen Rinpoche, who consecrated the land as a Buddhist sacred space. We have had Taoists, we have had Wiccans, we have had, I can't think of a religion that we haven't had that has used this space for meditation, for worship, and we have even had them as collaborative experiences in the community as well.
It was an absolute pleasure spending time learning a little bit about what you guys do here. It's amazing. Amazing to think the beginnings to what we have here, to think that anyone can show up, any religion, any denomination, and enjoy an environment where it is about faith and peace. So you can visit Cathedral of Hope. They're located at 5910 Cedar Springs. You can see the space. It's right next door. It's the Interfaith Peace Chapel, and we really appreciate the time. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you.
To wrap up this edition of Modern Dallas TV, we cover local modern events and the art scene. Check out the calendar and the arts page on our website at moderndallas.net. There are always great events from the Dallas Architecture Forum, Preservation Dallas, and the Dallas Center for Architecture has great walking tours in downtown Dallas. Open houses every week, always a great selection. You can create your own mini mod home tour. And Todd Camplin covers the art scene for us, from art galleries to museums and artists. You can check out his page on the website. And lastly, if you're in the market for a modern, mid-century modern, contemporary, home, high-rise or loft, we simply have the finest moderns in Dallas. For this week, we appreciate you being part of our show. We'll see you later.